You are now listening to the Business Chatter Podcast. Welcome to the Business Chatter Podcast. I'm Chris.
And I'm Anthony.
And we are happy that you're here with us today.
All right, we're switching it up a little bit today. We got a guest, a little bit different.
Very handsome.
Only one host. Our special guest is Chris. You're going to get to know him. I already love him. You're going to get to love him.
It's the hope.
Know so many interesting things. I'm going to ask him a ton of off-the-cuff questions that he's going to answer pretty well for the most part. You might see some disappointment on my face in some of them, but you might see some disappointment on his face in some of the questions that get thrown towards him. So it's kind of what we're doing here. Yeah.
Hey, the only way to grow is to acknowledge the places where you can improve.
We're not canned here at the Business Chatter Podcast. We don't script it. Everything is off the cuff. Even the people that come in from outside, they don't know what we're asking them beforehand. I mean, we might send them an outline of like, hey, we're going to talk about these.
They don't even know it's a podcast.
Yeah.
We just send them a Zoom link, and when they answer, we just start asking questions.
We actually tell them we are venture capitalists from a very large venture fund, and we want to invest in them.
Yes.
And they get really excited, and then we're like, oh, it's a podcast interview. Boom. And they usually doesn't end up well afterwards, but we usually get the interview.
Exactly. We have them pitch, and then we're like, oh, we just have a couple extra questions. We need you to log into the Zoom account. And then, hey.
Like we do all our pitches in podcast form.
Yeah. You know what? That would be interesting. That'd be an interesting, like, I would watch that if you had a company that was like, they think they're ready to pitch, but then they come onto our podcast and we pick it apart and try to throw them off. And then once the podcast is done, they'll feel more prepared to go out and pitch. That, you know what? That sounds like a good block of episodes we can do. So any up and coming businesses that are looking to potentially start to pitch for investment, we'd love to have you on the podcast and test out your pitch, and we won't air it until after you start your fundraising. Reach out. We'll respond.
We will.
Okay, right. So before we dig in, just in case this is your first time listening, we like to talk about entrepreneurship, startups to enterprise, value creation, and everything in between. Today's a little bit different. We'll have another episode where we do the same with Anthony and get to know him a little bit better. But our goal is really to build a community of current and aspiring entrepreneurs, investors, and everybody who's part of that world in order to help distill down concepts that bridge the gap between education and the actual practice of building, running, and scaling businesses.
Yep, definitely. And we keep it loose.
We do. There's a lot of chatter.
Yeah. We hold true to the name. We chat.
We do. We chat.
I always make sure to tell everybody that when they're like, "Oh, tell me about your podcast." I'm like, "Oh, we chatter." We hold true to our name. It's kind of just, you know what? Let's jump into it. All right, Chris, welcome to my podcast, the Business Chatter Tone Podcast. But it's really about you today. It's not about me.
Thanks.
The host always tries to make it about themselves, even if it's not about them. It's about.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Happy to be here.
Not to detract from our community's interest in learning about you today by making it about myself, but I felt like we couldn't start without doing that.
Well, you've already accomplished it, so we can only go up from here.
No, I should try to relax. I'm going to light a candle, actually.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, hold on. I always keep one handy.
That's a
little podcast candle.
Classic podcast candle.
Hey, listen. We want a relaxing, calm mood, ask you some questions. I don't want you to be on edge. I know you can't smell the candle because I'm remote.
Well, what scent is it? So I know.
Honestly, it's just a blank candle.
Okay.
I smell cinnamon though.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's relaxing.
Hey, this isn't about my candle. It's really not about me. I take back what I said. This is about you.
You're right. The first minute has definitely been about me.
But just I got to this Airbnb and I did notice a lot of candles, so I went out and I bought a lighter. Like that, I've never bought a lighter before. It was the first time I bought a lighter just so I could light candles.
That's good to have. I mean, it is good to have, but you also can't fly with. Oh, you can fly with them, right?
I don't know. I just said I've
I don't
never
know.
bought a lighter before. You know what? Don't ask me questions.
I
I'm
mean,
gonna
you've
ask.
been on a plane. All
All
right,
right,
I won't ask any questions. Go ahead.
we are going to jump into this. Welcome to the official Get to Know Chris episode, where I'm gonna ask Chris some off the cuff questions so we can get to know him better. I don't even know the answers to a lot of these questions. He doesn't know what questions I'm going to ask. I don't know what questions I'm going to ask him. We're just kind of wing it. He's probably going to cut me off at some point, and we're just going to end it there. And that's usually how it goes.
Sounds about right.
First question. I know we've had some pretty creative conversations kind of around this subject, not always like super podcast appropriate.
Okay.
If you could invent a completely new industry, what would it be and why?
That's a good question. Man, you're really starting off starting hot. Create a new industry. I mean, if I had the answer to that, wouldn't I be doing it? Come on now. No, let me see. A new industry. I mean, all right. I will continue to think about this in the back of my mind while I'm working on
Hold on.
this.
It doesn't need to be a completely new industry. Let me give you some leeway here.
Okay.
What about like a needed revision to a current industry, like a new market?
Well, I think with the advent of like foodie culture and also, beer culture and other, certain vice cultures, I do think that that type of tourism could certainly be improved. There's a list that goes out, the 50 best, like the 50 best foods you have to try, the food you have to try in every state, the best this, the best that. There's plenty of people who like to travel for those experiences. If there was a way to put together actual events and trips for people to be able to partake in that, I think that would be a step up for the travel industry. There's companies that are already doing it now in certain states with certain things, but Asheville, North Carolina has a great like beer culture. It would be very cool if you could find a trip to go down, or if there were conferences or something along those lines, to be able to meet with other like-minded individuals and actually get to go to the best spots and have them tell you these are the best things to try. So that way you have a chance to get the best of the best while you're somewhere.
Okay. I could see it.
Yeah. I mean, I think I would have to think more about that, because I wouldn't build something after me just having the initial conversation. I would have to do some more, digging. But as we talked about, sometimes you just need to start, and maybe that's one that there's already some infrastructure to get that stuff in place.
Okay. All right. Let's move on. I'm going to give you an easier one because I feel like that was like a pretty difficult question.
You seem like very disappointed in my answer.
I'm not disappointed. I'm just
wow.
I'm just mad.
Good start.
The opposite of what
That's the opposite of what a parent would say.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's fine. I put you on the spot. That was a really difficult first question. Like, inventing a new industry is like not.
Yeah. If I had a new industry to invent, do you think I'd be talking about it on the podcast, or I'd be building it in secret and then launching?
Okay. All right, fine. This one should be easier.
I hope.
I feel like you'll have a good answer for this, maybe.
Let's hope.
Albeit, I feel like it might get controversial with you too. Which famous entrepreneur would you choose as your mentor, and what business idea? Actually, just tell me who you would choose as your mentor and why.
Who? Okay. So that is a good question. I honestly have like a top 5 in my head. I think right now, if I had to choose one, I would choose Mark Cuban. And the reason why is he's a salesman. He understands. I think he still has the what I'm looking for. He's still humble enough to know that he could lose it. And if he did lose it, he already has a plan. He would work in sales during the day and bartend at night. We've all seen that in articles. But he seems like a fun person to be around, and there's a ton that you can learn from him. But he also has been very successful, and he's done it on multiple fronts. So I would definitely say he would be a number one. I also think Mark Laurie is a really interesting person. And if I was going to go the food route, I think he would be the person I'd want to work with, because he's been living in food for the last couple of years with Wonder and everything that they're doing there. And I think that he's got a lot of really creative ideas, and he also has a strong network of individuals who work as ambassadors for his brands without having to be part of the process. There's also a few others though that, depending on the industry, I'd love to have the opportunity to work with. That, like Peter Thiel. I mean, everything that he's involved in seems to have some opportunity to go in different directions. And I know who you were thinking of if I was to say this person's name could get really controversial, but you know, I'll reserve that for now.
Do you have an idea in mind that you could potentially pitch them that you would want to?
So I would pitch the food thing if I baked it out to Mark Laurie for sure. For Peter Thiel, it would definitely have to be something that is more tech focused. And it doesn't have to be tech in terms of systems. Like, it doesn't have to be payments. It doesn't have to be SaaS. I just think that he likes to sink his teeth into something where there's like substance there that's going to be patents and licensing and future use outside of if one company doesn't do well. And then, I mean, I think Mark Cuban's open. I have to learn more about his interests. I'd really do some research on him because I've seen plenty of Shark Tank ideas that are great, and it's just not his thing, and it ends up not being a fit for him. So I'd have to really dig into his interests and make sure they aligned before I brought something to him.
All right. I just had to say it. I for some reason I was really thinking you were going to say you were going to pitch them VR time travel.
Oh, that's pretty sweet. That'd be awesome. I mean,
I don't know why. I just felt
oh,
like you were going to go there.
I'm so glad that you brought that up, actually. I was just watching something about this, and I forget who it was, but they were talking about, like, imagine being able to, like, remote viewing is like a controversial, like, conspiracy-ish type of topic where essentially like someone can be somewhere and transport their consciousness somewhere else. Like, the government has actually done studies on this, and it would be really interesting that VR time travel. It's like, could you imagine going back to be able to see all these things? The only problem is if it's VR, it's the interpretation of what they think happened. It's not what happened.
Build it today. Like, today is the past.
Okay, so today, like, it starts today. So the timeline of when this goes is 50 years from now, and then you're actually experiencing today.
You'll be dead, but just know you're making an impact.
I mean, that'd be pretty sweet. Man, why now the whole world's gonna know what we've been working on.
That's true. We're hiring. Software engineers are welcome.
Yep. Reach out, we'll respond. Oh, yeah. Sorry. You'll respond. It's your episode today. I'm just here.
Today. You're just the guest.
It's fun being the guest. No pressure.
I'm A-list, okay? You're B-list. You're the one wanting to get on my podcast. I didn't even like our other guests, we reached out to, we wanted them. This one, you were just like, oh, interview me. I want it so bad. And
I was like, please do. Yeah, let's do this.
Yeah. All right. What's the most embarrassing mistake you've ever made at work or in your professional life?
In my professional life.
Let's keep it appropriate. There might be a child that watches this. I don't know if there is.
Let's see. I mean, like, I've sent, well, probably maybe like, interesting. The most embarrassing.
I got one, but I'll save it for mine.
Of you. I was gonna say, if you had one for me, that'd be you've been holding on to that one for a while. I've had I mean, I would say probably the most embarrassing thing was just like a miscommunication with a partner where, we're talking about the same, what we thought was the same thing. So I was expressing, certain emotions like in a positive way and like running down numbers and figures and future opportunity. And they were talking about something else and framing it from a negative angle. So when we actually got together on it and our superiors were part of the conversation, there was a lot that was lost in the sauce. And, it definitely came back more on me than them because I was looking very positively at something that the real subject was not a positive thing. So I would say that was just a little kind of egg on my face type of situation.
But you don't have anything that's like strictly funny, like that happened to you maybe in a professional setting that you did? Because I mean, maybe I just do things all the time that are like kind of like I can be goofy. And I guess maybe you're not like outwardly as much like that. Like you do reuse plastic bags.
I do. Oh, okay. That's okay. There we go.
No, actually, reuse plastic bags at work. That was like my first impression of you.
That's a good one because that'll lead into. So yes, I do reuse plastic bags because it's not a bad thing, and they work more than once. So I have a view on this. Okay, the maybe most embarrassing thing is we worked for a company that offered a free lunch service, and basically you would go on and just identify which of the 5 lunches you wanted, and they would deliver them. And nobody liked it literally except for me, and I would be the only one to order it all the time. So like they had to show up just for me, and I'd be sitting there eating it, and people would have their comments on it. So I guess embarrassing in the sense of like I'm the only guy who's doing this thing that clearly nobody likes. But it was a startup company that I was trying to support, so that's been in my roots for a long time. But yes, I recycle plastic bags. I label my stuff in the fridge. I put a little sticky note to say that it's mine. Um, you know, I do prefer to be at the front of the line instead of the back when they have lunch buffets. So, take all that as you will. But I would say it's more
Front is an
peculiar.
understatement. You have to be first.
I mean, yes. I've cooled a little bit. I've been, I've been third or fourth in line in more recent times, and I've had a battle with it.
Chris is a germaphobe. Just
That's
anybody that doesn't know.
I have gotten a lot better. In fairness, I have gotten a lot better, but I'm still not on the plane that most people are operating on. So that's for sure.
First step to recovery is acceptance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, I really decided that I wanted to stop being such a germaphobe in I'm not even kidding, like the winter of 2019. And I was like, all right, new year, I'm going to start doing this. And then a global pandemic hit. And I don't think immersion therapy of touching gross stuff during COVID was a good idea. So, I'm inching my way in.
I've always said if masks were cool before COVID, you would have been like all over it.
Sign me up.
Yeah.
Sign me up.
All right. Back to business. Enough about learning about you. I want to learn about you.
Sounds good.
All right. I don't know. I feel like you're creative. This could be a good one. If you could rename any famous company, like Fortune 500, unicorn startup, like failed tech bubble, anything, famous company, what would you rename it to?
Okay. That's a good one too.
And why? And why? Explain your answer.
Explain your answer. Show your work. All right. So trying to see which direction I want to go, because there's a lot that could come from this. I really wish I had these questions ahead of time.
No,
as those who are watching can tell, I'm really
you're a damn podcast host. You got to be able to think on your feet.
See, this is the thing. I'm good on my feet when I know
you're a stand-up.
When I know my stuff. Well,
come on.
But that's the thing. You're looking for something specific.
Yeah.
This is like if I was doing crowd work, I would have a couple things in the chamber, which would give me some time to think for the next one.
We're a business podcast. Get some business things in the chamber.
Okay. Well,
and rename.
Okay. So do you think that I should be spending our podcast prep time on thinking about companies whose names I would change to something potentially funny? Is that the best use of our time?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Let's see. Oh man. I also don't want to ruffle any feathers, so I got to think of
feathers.
Because I could think of,
just
I could think of like a rival sport company, to like, there's the company who has the slogan "Just Do It," and they're one of the most profitable, popular companies on the planet.
Yeah, we're already getting sued. That's all right. No,
and then we have you have other companies who, have tried to replicate their success, but like they're just not there. You know what I mean? So like I could see their slogan being like,
we did it.
That's well, actually, Nike should change their slogan to "We did it," and then like you should have these other companies like "We're trying to do it" type of thing. I think any airline should change their name to be Honest. So whatever image they're trying to project into your mind, it should be changed to like, usually 20 minutes late, right? Like most planes are dirty, that kind of stuff. Like that, I think would be a better selling point. At least you could have some honesty there. Cause like, you think of Spirit Airline. Well, Spirit's not the best example. Like, no, Spirit, right? They have like, no, what's the Southwest, right? They have like the cool staff, but like you still have to fight people to get a seat. Like, that's what you're getting into, but everyone's like nice. So that's not a bad thing.
That's funny, actually. I hate to cut you off, but I don't want to lose my train of thought here.
Good.
The airline thing. During my MBA, we did a case study on Southwest,
Hmm.
like very recently, and they had a few issues and everything, and we were going over it, and they're like, "Oh, well, they've recovered to a 75% customer satisfaction rate." And I was just thinking to myself, like, 75% customer satisfaction in general customer service is abysmal.
Abysmal. If you got if your
Awful.
NPS average was that, you would be out of business in any other industry.
Just mostly content. That's
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Like, just enough to keep getting people to come.
yeah.
It's the price. I mean, that's really the um okay, so maybe Christmas tree shop. They should change it to like home shop. Like it's
Good
not
point.
just Christmas tree stuff.
I didn't know what it was until this year, and it was like in July, and I was like, "Why is there a Christmas tree shop open in July?" And I was
Yeah.
with my mom, and she was like, "No, it's just like a home goods store."
Yeah,
And I was
it's
like, "Oh,
literally it's home goods that with just more expensive ornaments.
do they sell
Nice
Christmas
stuff.
ornaments? I've never been in there.
I mean, I would hope with a name like that. But
Yeah.
also of all the months, July would be a month that they would be open because the whole Christmas in July thing.
Oh, right, that is a thing. We
Yeah.
did that downtown. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just good marketing, right? That's good marketing.
You gotta. It's the Hallmark holidays. You gotta pump them up. You gotta add more. Actually, I'm in Kansas City right now. Hallmark is based here. If you were an investor for a very large venture fund,
Hmm.
have your pick of the litter. You were the principal on it. You were like, I'm approving this. We're leading this investment round. Which fictional company from a movie, TV show would you invest in, and why? And why?
Jeez. I definitely needed some prep on this.
No,
Like
you didn't.
I have to now I have to think about a movie or a show.
What like North Pole from Elf? Like think of you can go broad range. I don't know why that's the first one that came to mind. North Pole from Polar Express, the North Pole from the animated Rudolph. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm only going to North Poles here, but you get what I'm saying.
You're really
Like,
stuck on the holiday theme, huh?
yeah, like the
I mean,
Christmas job.
Wayne Industries, Batman,
Oh, dude, definitely.
right? They are a powerhouse, and at some point he's not going to be at the helm. My guess is go public, like that. Wayne Industries would be my
I
answer,
disagree though. Stark Enterprise.
or
Dude,
Stark Enterprise.
the
Yeah.
Avengers.
Well, yes, but let's think about it from a personality standpoint. Easier to work with Bruce Wayne or with what's Robert Downey Jr.'s character's name?
Tony
Tony
Stark.
Stark. Like, who's easier to work with?
Well, I
Probably
think
Bruce Wayne.
see for a public company, like Bruce Wayne's going to be lying to a lot of people as Batman. Like, because nobody's going to know he's Batman, and like he's buying a lot of his own product, pumping up the stock, and like people might perceive it as like a pump and dump type thing, and all of a sudden like there's a lot of like white collar crimes like being committed, and Tony
But
Stark's very open about being Iron Man and like showcasing his product and like being transparent about it through the Avengers. Where Bruce Wayne, I don't know. I feel like there's like a lot of leeway to just end up in prison.
but what about when I think of Wayne Enterprise, I think of government contracts, right?
Stark, I mean, I can't. This is your podcast. I mean,
Yeah. I
this is
mean, well, apparently it's yours,
it's
but
your
no,
yeah.
but here's the thing though. There's a lot more Stark what's it, Enterprises? Yeah, it's Wayne Industries Stark Enterprises. Stark Enterprises is tied to a lot more like damage and destruction. Like realistically, Batman is less destructive
He's in
on
the
the
shadows.
largest scale.
Yeah, this whole thing is he's in the shadows. He doesn't.
Exactly. Like he's, it's primarily at night, not that that matters as much, but he minimizes destruction. So like it doesn't cost the town as much. Like Stark Industries is impacting on like a nationwide or potentially worldwide damage scale. And they're also inviting entities from outside of our standard living dimension and realm
That's
on this planet. Like
yeah.
Batman doesn't have interplanetary enemies.
I feel like high risk, high reward. But if you want the stable, Fortune 500, multi-billion-dollar,
Yeah.
you can stick with Wayne Enterprise. Also, Bruce
Yeah.
Wayne is just like
Bruce Wayne. I mean, he seems like, okay, like yes, he's lying about being Batman, but he's he's not an evil person. He's not a bad guy. Not that Tony Stark is, but he's more of a wild card. Tony Stark's more of the Elon Musk, where you know Bruce Wayne is more of the, I don't know, who would he be like?
He's based off somebody.
The comics were written a long time ago, though. So is it like,
Hold on. Since I'm on my computer, who
yeah,
is Bruce Wayne based on?
J.D. Rockefeller, J.P. Morgan?
Bill Finger and Bob Kane. I don't know who those people are before like anybody's like, those people are really controversial. Like, I don't know. That's the first thing that came up on Google. I'm not gonna read any more into it, but that's who it is.
Okay. Well, now, hey, we never said we weren't educational.
Name Bruce came from King Bruce the First of Scotland, though.
Okay.
All right, let's move on.
Cool.
Yeah. This one I'm sure like you've had some problem customers for sure working in partnerships. Any unusual customer complaints about you? Anything funny, unusual
About me specifically?
Yeah, like not just the seeing eye to eye thing. You ever have like I had one, but again, we'll save it for mine.
I mean, I've had individuals say that like I've lied to them or misrepresented something, and everywhere I work, obviously my emails are accessible and my calls are recorded. So like those are always the ones that that crack me up, because as an individual, like I would much rather lose the sale than be unethical in any way. Like I'm not going to lie. Like I will tell you the truth and then you can decide what to do with it. I'm not trying to trick you. So like I've definitely had like emails and calls that have been reviewed where the individual says, "Well, he said this," and like there's no evidence of me saying that. It's usually either the opposite or exactly what I had indicated it was. And granted, you can walk away from a conversation not fully understanding of every concept, and everyone makes mistakes in that capacity, because communication can be difficult, especially when you're not in person or face to face. But those are really the comical ones, when someone says that like I lied or he said this, then you go back and check the tape and it's like the complete opposite. I've definitely had some of those.
Yeah. I mean, if our listeners have learned anything from listening to this episode, Chris is a lot of things. Definitely not dishonest, like in the least bit.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Very integrous, for sure. Just going to throw it out there.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Don't let your head get too big.
Hey, for you to say that on your podcast, man, it means a lot.
But like, not many people with more integrity than Chris. So all right, let's see. I'm going to ask one more question, but just give me a second.
Okay.
Let me meditate on it. Okay.
Sounds good.
All these just come to me. It's not like we didn't prep for this. We kind of just were like, hey, let's do it. Let's just start.
Just start. And while you're meditating on it,
I want to ask a question, something to do with the lottery to end it. Like this will be the last question. I feel like people like to ask lottery-based questions, like if you won the lottery, if you did this.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know what I would say or how I'm gonna phrase it.
You're typing into Chat GPT right now, aren't you?
Maybe.
Well, moving forward into the future, we'll also do other Get to Know You episodes with less business focused questions and more like jokey stuff. So
if you won the lottery,
okay,
what's the most outlandish business you would create with your new? Let's say you won the $2 billion jackpot.
Okay.
After everything, you got $1 billion cash in hand, and they were like, you have to use this money to start an outlandish business. What would you create?
I would. Ooh, that is a really good question. I think I would do like an adult, all-inclusive, but fun, like summer camp type of experience, because they've done like adult summer camps, but they do it at like summer camps. And as an adult, you don't want to sleep on a twin bed that like 800 13-year-olds have slept on over the course of 25 years in like an old non-air conditioned cabin. And also as an adult, like I like traveling all over the world. I wish there were all inclusives in the States. And I know that it's a very cumbersome thing to do, But if there's a way to leverage partnerships and make it a little bit more affordable, like it's something I would like to do. I think that a program like that, a week or 5 days for adults to go where it's all inclusive, it's like everything's top of the line. There's a lot of fun events that are planned where you could be in water, you could be in nature, you could do all that kind of stuff. But like you actually get to sleep and you actually have a comfortable bed and the air conditioning works or the heat works and there's other stuff to do. I think that that's something I would invest in. I think that there's a lot of fun that can be had with something like that.
You should link up with the Firefest guy.
Yes, I would do it a little bit differently. Would be my get. Would be my my guidance there. But yes, yeah, that's probably the most. I wouldn't want to go too far, off the range because it does need to still be viable. But I think that that would be a fun one to have, you know.
All right.
Or I would do, like the sensory type of, like the kids' playhouses where you go and like you can dress up and it's like they have all these different scenes and stuff like that you could do. Maybe I would do like a fantasy camp for adults where you can go and like one day you play a professional sport and one day you're in a band and one day you do this because they
Dude,
have those like really
Comic-Con.
expensive fantasy camps. And
Just go to Comic-Con for 3 days.
sure, but like you know how they have like the Yankees fantasy camp.
Yeah.
Like imagine that, but like one day you could do that, the next day you could do a different sport, like sport specific. You could do music and art and comedy type of thing. That could also be fun.
It is cool. And that you need a lot of money for, especially if you want big names to come in.
Exactly. Like there's a really great Simpsons episode where they do that and they have like the rock camp and it's just like, yeah, you'd have to spend quite a bit to get people in and then, obviously you want the amenities and experience to be top tier. So, yeah, if I win the lottery, I mean I probably won't do either of those things, but if I was going to do something, those would be the ones I do.
If you ever bought a lottery ticket, I feel like you definitely don't play the lottery.
I do. I
Oh,
do, but not often. But it's
yeah.
the type of thing where I only buy like the big ones where it's life-changing wins because $2 to win 2 billion, I'll take it.
Yeah, I bought a couple. I'm not a big fan.
Yeah.
So it's like always like I buy it, I'm like, oh, I'm definitely gonna win. Like 100% I'm gonna win. And then I lose and then I'm disappointed. And
Yeah. It's
that's like 3 times buying lottery tickets. That's what happens every time.
but
Oh, do you remember we did the on deck pool?
yeah.
And it was when it was like $1.5 billion in like 2018 or 19 or something, 18. And the tickets we bought the week before had the winning numbers for the next draw.
Yeah.
And oh man,
That
that gave me nightmares.
that's the type of thing where you're
Like the whole like that had
like
the jackpot, like the full $1.5 billion, like
with the Powerball.
number, including the Powerball we
Yep.
matched. But it was the drawing before the jackpot was pulled.
Yeah. That's one of those things that either makes you play all the time forever or lets you
Flip.
put into perspective the fact that like this is such a chance game that I cannot get invested in it. You just have to hope for the best and then move on.
Yeah,
Well,
I don't even like telling that story because at least you were there and like you were part of it.
that's
Like
true.
anxiety, like
It was
in the office pool, I think it was like split like after taxes, we still all would have got like $15 million or something.
which, that changes your life
Yeah,
for sure.
we could just start we could pay for premium Zoom.
Yeah, we could. We could have we I mean, we could have started the podcast years and years earlier.
We could have started
Nah.
a fantasy camp.
We actually would have started we probably would have started a baseball podcast at that point.
That's true. We still could.
We still could.
All right, Chris, I'm going to cut you off here. You're out of time. You answered all the questions. Some of them you did great. Other ones, need improvement off the cuff. You know what?
Appreciate
A
the
minus.
feedback.
You're an
Oh,
A person, A minus interview.
I'll take it.
Everything, if you're not graded, it doesn't count. It's not, you're never going to improve if I don't give you good feedback. So we're going to do the outro and then, we'll catch you next time.
Well, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
We'll have you back for round 2 eventually. Maybe
That's
on
right.
our what else do we got? Our YouTube Premium, is that a thing?
Well, it's a thing for them, but we wouldn't put it there. But as Anthony alluded to, we're hoping to maybe set up a Patreon and have some extra clips and additional tips and rants and some stuff that we don't actually publish out on YouTube and Instagram right now. Just to see if there is any interest there, and hopefully we can create some additional value for some of the community members who are really trying to dig in and make some of the stuff we're talking about more actionable.
Wait, should we
But
just do the outro? Are we doing the outro? Is this the
yeah,
outro?
yeah,
Oh,
go for it. Let's go.
all right, cool. I didn't know if like we were gonna cut it and then go to it.
I mean, you know what? We could do that, but now that we're this deep, let's just go for it.
Yeah, okay. All right. So guys, that was our interview with Chris. Chris, thanks for coming on today. Thanks for taking on a little bit of a different role and hearing me out and hearing what our guests might want to know about you. Probably never thought of any of these questions to ask you.
Nope.
They might want to know where you live and like if you're married and have a kid, maybe what kind of car you drive, what you do for work outside of this, but like we don't care about any of that.
We'll talk about that stuff in time, and hopefully we'll be able to talk about those things in a larger setting with our community as we move forward. So we can reserve that for down the line.
Yeah, we'll respond. And on that note, thank you for watching, listening, probably primary. It's like Spotify. That's our bread and butter right there.
It's true. You can watch on Spotify too.
Spotify, yeah. I had somebody tell me that I didn't even know it. I was listening to them and they were, you can watch them too. Listening, watching, liking, subscribing, rating. Leave us a rating on Spotify. 3, 4, 5, preferably 5. But if you want to give us a 1 or a 2 or a 3 or a 4, like we'll take it.
That's on you,
Send us an email, host@businesschatterpod.com. Follow us on Instagram, Business Chatter Pod. Cass, Business Chatter Pod.
That's right.
Which one is it? Business
no,
Chatter.
It's Business Chatter Pod on Instagram and YouTube.
Send us an email. We'll respond. Guest ideas. You want to be a guest? Topic suggestions, constructive criticism, non-constructive criticism, compliments, restaurant recommendations.
Yeah. Pictures of really nice scenery. That's always cool too. Like if you go on a vacation and you get like a great shot of the sunset, like we'll take a look. I like that stuff.
You might even share it. Chris might share it on his Instagram page.
Yeah, there you go. There's something else about me. So you just got a freebie. I like landscape shots. So, all right. Well, thank you so much again for your time. I really appreciate, especially tuning into an episode with, me just kind of answering questions. We'll do the same for Anthony. We really do appreciate it. We know that your time is valuable. We're the Business Chatter Podcast. Consider us your crash course on value creation through the words of individuals who have done it before. We'll see you next time.
See ya.